Hey everyone, welcome back to the third part of this 4-part series. It's now been 1 week that this resin has been curing. I am going to give you a view of what it finally turned out as. Probably right there. It came out really nice, it came out beautiful. So I'm going to start to take it out of its form and we'll start planing it and everything. So first thing is we've got a screw here we've got to remove.
So at this point, I'm just going to remove the screw, remove the clamps, and use a chisel to go between the actual charcuterie board and the particle board that's covered in tuck tape.
There we have it. Right? We had the resin go underneath the wood, right over. This is great. And we of course have the silicone here and everything. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to just take the knife that I always use and I'm going to remove just some of the silicone.
The reason why I remove the silicone is I just don't want to get it stuck in the planer and possibly gum up my blades.
All right, so here we are, we're ready to flatten the board. There's a few things you need to know before you start putting your board through the machine, okay? One is that when you put your board through, you want to put it through the same way until you are happy with that surface. I see some people, they put it in, it comes out the other way, they flip it around, they put it through that way, they flip it around. If your board is a little bit warped, it will stay warped. By putting it through the same side always, you are flattening the top side to the bottom. All right? And then when it's totally flat and you're happy with it, then you flip it over and you do the other side. Here we go. A few other things, sorry, I should say before, here we go. There is settings here. One is for a rough cut and one is for a smooth cut. One just turns the blades faster so that this way it's a smoother cut. I don't do that. I usually just do the rough cut because I'm going to then sand it with the 60 grit all the way up to 1000, and that'll come after this right now. I'll be showing you, okay?
I'll tell you, this planer is incredible. I can remember the days of just sanding and sanding and sanding for hours on end just to get it nice and flat, and then it never really was flat. But with this planer, you just pass it through. Yeah, you got to pass it through a few times, but 10-15 minutes at the most, and your board is flat and perfect and ready to move on. Trust me, the investment is worth it.
All right, so there you have it. It is 100% finished, flattened, and perfect. Now, I know we can't see anymore the resin, the pattern underneath, but as we sand it, it'll come back. Actually, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. But trust me, it's there, and you just gotta trust the process. All right, so next what we're gonna do is we're gonna square up the board. Then I'm gonna bring it back in here and we start sanding. 60 grit all the way up to 1000. And by the time we're done that, we'd have chamfered the sides, everything. We are ready for the last steps, which will be in video 4, and that's where we polish the inside to a glass finish. And on top of that, we finish put the finisher on the actual black walnut. All right, so here we are. Sorry for the bad lighting, but here we are getting ready to square off our sides, right? And so I mentioned before that I draw a line and I cut up the line, but no human being is 100% straight, right? Unless you use some wood and hold the jigsaw to it. So if you look on the sides here, they look pretty straight, but they're far from straight, right? Right here, there's a bit, I went in a little bit and out, you know, just the errors that happen from being using a free-handed tool. So what I do is this, I take a nice straight piece of wood, right? And I'll glue it to the side here. So I'll just take some hot glue, glue it in, top here and here. So now by doing this, I have a 100% straight side. Now when I ride it up along this fence, the fence that's right here off to the side, right there, I know that I am going to have a straight edge. All right, so here we are, we're ready to start squaring off the sides, and the glue is now cooled off. I've raised the blade only slightly above the actual workpiece itself. The reason why is safety. I don't want to have an accident, my hand slip or something, and have that blade 2 inches up high. At least if an accident does happen, it's only sticking up 1/4 of an inch at the most. All right, so I got my vacuum plugged in, I got it squared off, and here we go.
Notice that once I push the board through, I do not touch anything until the blade comes to 100% stop.
So there we have it. We now have square sides. And next step is just to bring it over to the chop saw and cut the ends off so we have straight sides that are 90-degree angle from these sides, right? So it's perfectly square. So let's do it. All right, so now we have our board completely square. We're gonna start to sand this down, and this is the most important part. This is where the money is made, the quality, people are gonna see it. And you wanna be careful and follow what I'm gonna show you for 2 reasons. One, you want to make sure that you don't end up with swirl marks in your resin or in your wood. And 2, you want to make sure that you sand the board following my pattern so that the board doesn't feel wavy. All right, because if you sand a little bit too much in one area, you'll feel the little dip in it with your hand. So you want it to remain completely flat and come out with a nice, beautiful finish on your resin so that it'll shine. So follow me and I'm going to show you. I'm going to zoom in here so you could see how I do this. Okay, so here we are, squared board. It's ready for sanding. I'm starting off at an 80 grit, and the reason why I'm starting at 80 is because my planer finishes the wood at a 60 grit equivalent. So I don't have to start at 60. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the sander and we're going to start about half of it off the wood on the side here, and then we're going to bring it down, not exceeding 1 inch per second. Then we're going to go move it over, and we're going to overlap that by 50%. And we're going to keep going up and down, overlapping 50%, not exceeding 1 inch per second. And this is going to go all the way around. Then once we've done the whole board, we are going to do the exact same thing, but going horizontally. So go across, come down, 50% over, again down, 50% over, and 50% over until I finish the board. Once I'm done that, I'm starting back up at the corner and the same thing. And what you're doing is you're putting scratches, the 80 grit is going to remove the scratches from the 60 grit. Then we're going to go to 120 grit, and the 120 grit removes the scratches of the 80. Then we're going to go to about 150. The 150 removes the scratches of the 120. The 180 removes the scratches of the 150. So that's what we're doing. We're always removing the scratches from this previous sandpaper. And once you get up to 1,000, if you've done it properly and you follow the pattern up, down, side to side, not exceeding 1 inch per second, then you will have a perfect finish. Then when you actually go across and we buff this, it's going to look like glass. You'll have no issues with it. Okay, so I'm going to put on my PPE. I'm going to turn on the vacuums that are in here, and I'm going to start sanding. So stick around.
So if you notice as I'm sanding here, my right hand is on the top of the actual sander and sometimes at the side. But know this, I am never actually pushing down on the actual sander. Let the weight of the sander do the work for you. I know you're going to think, oh, if I could push down, it'll be faster, but that's how you get uneven boards. So trust me, left to right, up and down, no pressure on the top of the sander, and you will get a perfect finish every time.
All right, so at this point we sanded about until 400 grit. It's really coming out nice. It's flat. You don't feel any kind of waves in it or anything like that. But what you have to do now is you have to pop the grain. And to do this, what we want to do is we want to get a rag. Some people use a bottle that they spritz some water on it. But you want to basically wipe down the board. And it's going to do two things. One, it's going to show you how it should look at the end. So that's kind of what it's going to look like. But what it does is this. When wood is laid out like this, the fibers are standing up straight, and you could feel it's kind of rough. As you sand and sand and sand, what ends up happening is the fibers start to curl. And then when you feel it, you'll feel, oh, that's beautiful and soft. But the first time it gets wet with water, those curls are going to stand up, and then it's going to feel like a porcupine. Like right now, this is the first time I'm popping the grain. I can feel, I swear to you, it's like a porcupine finish. It's very prickly. So I'm going to sand it, wet it, sand it, wet it several times until I'm wetting it and I no longer feel a pop. Then it's ready for the next step. And I do that at this stage with the 600 and the final ones, and then it's ready for buffing. So I'm just going to wipe it all down. This includes the sides. I have been sanding all the sides as well. I know I didn't show you, but they've all been sanded. There we go. All right. So now I'll just wait for this, for the air to pass and dry it naturally.
I know I've only shown you once that I popped the grain, but trust me, I have popped it at least 6 or 7 times, and when I'm done popping it, it is perfect. And I know that my customer is going to get a perfect product. Now at this point, all I'm doing is chamfering the sides. I like to do a chamfer. I'm not a fan of a round over. I just think it looks more modern, and I just like it more. So after all the chamfering is done on all 4 sides, and then the other reverse side of the board, I go ahead with a block of sandpaper and start to sand it all down to ensure that even the sides get popped and they're perfect every time. Hey, if you got any questions, feel free to leave them below and I'll be happy to answer them. Alright, when you see the big Makita sander come out, that is when you know I'm right at the end, because that has the 800 grit and 1000 grit, and it just brings that board to perfection.
All right, so there you have it. It is done. It is perfect. It's going to come out beautiful. As you can see, when I wet it down, it brings out all those beautiful colors. That's what we can expect to see when we put the finisher on it. We sanded it to 1000. We chamfered the edges, and it is ready. The final steps are, we're going to buff the inside here so it comes out to that glass-like finish. Put the finisher on, put some feet on the bottom. But that's all going to be in the next episode, episode number 4. So that's it for episode number 3. Thanks for hanging around with me, and I hope to see you in the next episode.